the Honorable Chairperson, His Excellency Mr. Mohammad Shahidul Haq, to come upon the dais, along with Dr. Anjan Datta, Professor Mary Ann Palmer-Robles, Dr. Alex Benkenstein, Professor R. Ramesh, and Mr. Raman Jahangir. I would request Dr. A.K. Swai and Dr. R.K. Swai to act as the rapporteurs for this session. And now, I request the volunteers to greet our dignitaries with bouquets. Now I request the chairperson, Mr. Mohammad Shahidul Haq, to kindly take over the session.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all. In this parallel panel, we will discuss rather a new concept, relatively new concept of blue economy. We have a very distinguished panelists. I'll come back to that. Before that, I just want to let you know that somehow or other the people who are involved in the field of development, whether coming from a government official like me or a scientist, somehow or other not considered ocean as an important area of development. And I'm sure at the end of the today's panel, you will see why I'm saying it. Despite the fact that ocean covers over 70% of the earth, and it is not only a huge body of water, but it's much more than that. Whether we look at as a from an angle of the economy or from society or from geopolitics. Despite this, and I know Professor Dr. Datta would share that with us, what is the politics of ocean development and how it has failed to draw attention in the international debate, in particular in the context of sustainable development. As I said, we have a very distinguished panelist today. We have, in fact, 4 topics, 5 speakers. That means the last topic would be shared by 2, if I am correct in my understanding. So we have Dr. Anjan Datta. He's a former UN colleague, now teaching at one of the private universities in Bangladesh. Followed by Dr. Mary Ann Palmer-Robles, if I have correctly pronounced your name, and then Dr. Alex Benkenstein. And then, as I said, we have one topic, the last topic, which will be shared by Dr. R. Ramesh and Mr. Rahman Jahangir. So let's go into the topic. What I intend to do is we have about 1.5 hours. So in order to be able to do justice to the presence of so many distinguished people and who are interested, and I'm sure you have a lot of things to share with the panelists as well, we'll try and restrict the presentation by the panelists by initially 10 minutes. So they have what I call introductory opening remarks, or the things that they would like to flag right at the beginning, followed by question and answer. And in the question and answer, we would try and create space for the panelists and share things which they haven't done in the opening statement. So with this understanding, that means you should all be writing your small little notes to be able to ask very focused questions to the panelists. So we have, to start, we have an interesting topic, which is the blue economy, what it is, how the animal looks like, and what is the debate. To share that with us, we have Dr. Anjan Datta. You have the floor, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, please allow me to thank the organizer for extending the invitation to come and speak on this very important topic, which is a very young topic, actually. It's not that old, as you rightly pointed out, and I'm sure distinguished participants also are fully aware. It is a concept which is evolving. It is still being sort of refined to give a real meaning, what it is all about. Why I'm saying it is young, actually, the discussion started in mid-90s, actually. And it was somebody called Dr. Gunther Pauli. He initiated it, and he sort of conceptualized a project of looking at, different initiatives across the globe to sort of give a meaning what blue economy is. Basically, what he started looking at the seas and ocean as a source of resource and how that could be used to address some of the pertinent questions of development. But this got a new impetus, basically, a few years ago, when the whole global community was discussing the whole agenda of sustainable development in preparation of the Rio Plus 20, 2012, June. Before the summit, the United Nations Conference of Sustainable Development took place, June 2012, there was a lot of preparatory discussion. And that's interesting enough, 5 years before that, the new concept came actually the development, and that's the green economy. Then some of the member states, particularly, I had the privilege at that time to be in the UN system and follow the debate very closely, particularly the small island development states. They said the green economy concept is basically a land-based kind of concept. But they were not very comfortable. They said, what about the ocean, seas, and the water, which is also very important, area which can contribute to the whole debate on sustainable development. So that's where it got started rolling. There were a lot of preparatory meetings in defining it, giving it a meaning, and the 6 countries were at the helm of that debate, small island development states. And if you see the outcome document of the Rio Plus 20, which the global community adopted, The Future We Want, that's the title of the document, outcome document. Probably this afternoon we'll have another declaration here. I don't know the title, I don't know the content. But that's the document which is adopted by the global community as a framework for sustainable development, The Future We Want, and which will basically now being worked out, as you know, and this September, coming September, the government will sort of set new target of post-2015, what the sustainable development goal should be for the global community to pursue. So that's the historical context, how the blue economy, the concept was kind of proposed, emerged, refined, redefined, and continues to grow further. So this is a very young stuff to talk about. So now coming to the blue economy. As I mentioned, this is certainly a concept, an initiative which was promoted by the small island development states. and primarily focusing on the coastal states and countries, who has a very important interest in the water, both within the national jurisdiction as well as jurisdiction beyond the national boundary, which in the UN language they call area beyond national jurisdiction. The debate is still very active debate, very lively debates going on. And some of the issues which we'll be discussing, maybe they will get a place in the context of Indian Ocean as well. So what it is basically, conceptualizing the blue economy is basically the development, ocean as a development space. When we are talking about development, we can use the ocean as a space for which we can use to pursue the kind of life we want to live, the quality, the whole human welfare and well-being concept we can. And it gives us good potential. But question is, we'll have to take a very specific planning approach. There's the spatial planning, which integrates conservation, sustainable use, and also it takes into the whole oil and mineral resource extraction possibilities, which we are discussing. We have heard lots of deliberation yesterday, even today, this morning. Bioprospecting, even the plenary, the National Development Research Center, the CEO, he made a very, good presentation on what the India is doing, and India is also taking it to other countries, gave a huge number, about 20, 15 countries. And then the whole sustainable energy production, which seems to be in the very focused agenda of the IORA as well, which was, Professor Attri mentioned. And of course, the marine transport. So this is all encompassing. All these issues, if we talk about, we'll have to really talk about within a framework and their relation with the ocean, which is basically the blue economy. These are the kind of building blocks of the blue economy. So what it does, basically, it takes the whole brown development model or the green economy, which is basically, we have done development, and as you know, our health of the ocean was taken, ocean was taken into the sinking, dumping ground. Everything you do, it goes into the ocean, and ocean will sort of recycle and purify and take care of all our development, quote unquote, waste. But that was not, so that was not kind of, you'll have to internalize that cost when you talk of blue economy. So that's the very basic, ocean is not the dumping ground. So that's the very fundamental kind of starting point also from blue economy perspective. You'll have to do this economic calculation, what it costs, and you'll have to internalize those costs. It is, the advocates of the blue economy, they say it's very defined as a very smart, sustainable, it's an inclusive economic, employment growth, etc. It's a very inclusive model. Because if we agree, because the binding, these states and the member states who share a large, water body, whether it's a seas or semi-seas or closed water, whatever. So, so that gives opportunity to everybody to exercise their rights within the exclusive economic zone, and then also they make commitment what they do beyond the national boundary. So that's what it is. And it argues that ocean values should be taken into your economic modeling and decision-making processes. The goods and services ocean provide. I'll give you some data eventually, but this is the kind of the basic fundamentals. They are good. Because the goods and services provided by, seas and ocean were not sort of looked at very carefully, were never calculated in the economic modeling of whether it's a national planning or regional or sub-regional. Of course, this endorses the principle of low carbon, resource efficiency, and social inclusion. It's very important. It's a low carbon because the development discourse, development path, you can take from the blue economy paradigm, it's a very low carbon, which is a demand for the day, particularly in the context of climate change. But it is grounded in a developing world context. Because as I mentioned, it was promoted, it was advocated, strongly advocated, and they managed to put it into the agenda of the global development discourse by the small island developing states, and they remain in the forefront, and the others, developing countries, join that, like for that matter Bangladesh, which is not a small island development state, but they also participated. And it's of course, that when you have a marine is a very strong or is a potential source of development, so you can't stay out of it. So that's how, countries continue to join and the network becomes stronger and stronger. So this is basically one of the constituents of our sustainable development. So we can take sustainable development, and this can be a very good approach in realizing our aspiration, societal goal. And of course, there are certain basic things, because the whole question of equity, question of sharing benefits, and the scope of investments, so it gives a huge potential. And then, if you pursue, I'll come with some statistics that it can give us the huge potential of human resource development and human development, as well as of our eradication of poverty, which many of those small island or this developing country do faces, including their, debt burden. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you. He already mentioned about some facts, like he said, 70%. Of course, these are some of the things to put the context, that's why it is. And it is not only the area, but it also, because all life originated on the ocean. It's a scientific statement. It's not something to be debated. And they continue to support all life today by generating oxygen, absorbing carbon, because, ocean is a big sink, carbon sink, recycling nutrients, regulating global climate and temperature. And it's also, the global population with food and livelihood opportunities, and trade. We have listened to that. Some countries are totally seaborne, some otherwise, if you took up the global transport and the maritime economy, it's 80% of the global transport. Global coastal tourism. Tourism is the largest industry still today. And the coastal tourism, sea, sand, and sun, that's the Caribbeans are selling it. Even our Indian Ocean rim countries, Seychelles or Mauritius, that's the product they sell. Why people go there for 10,000 euro a night, a room? Just because sea, sand, and sun, the blue water, that's it. So that's the tourism. It's a huge potential. So there's no wonder what Seychelles or Mauritius were very active in advocating a blue economy approach. So hydrocarbons, look at this another, in the whole question of energy security. That's a very, very important. And that's currently 32. There's a huge potential with this break of science and technology. And of course, with the technological development, also this morning it was emphasized again on the scale that new frontiers will come, which will be opening, mining of seabed. There's a huge discussion, how do you do the seabed management? International Seabed Authority do exist, but question is, that's why the whole governance frame is evolving with the whole potential of the resources, not only the resources, also the sinking of the carbon, the CO2, putting on the sea surface. As you know, even the London Convention protocol is being revised, or is being discussed to revise it. So she also offers a broad potential renewable blue energy. So that's what it is. If you take that all together in terms of the global GDP, that's what makes it very interesting argument. If you look at, 2/3 nearly coming out of your ocean and seas, but the prospect is much higher. So as we move on towards that kind of blue, as responsible blue economy approach, the pie will change from roughly 70%. I'm sure it will become even higher. So now coming back, if that is the international kind of concept, the framework where it evolved, so Bangladesh has also taken it as as an approach towards the sustainable development, you know. And that's, I quote with the Prime Minister's statement, which she made in the opening of the International Conference on Blue Economy, which Bangladesh hosted last year, September, under the auspices of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Secretary. He was the main organizer of that conference. So that's the quote, you can read it. And very important that, you know, but that's two principles. That's, she recognizes the potential. She also emphasizes the, you know, the relationship between, you know, and the obligation of a country with respect to exploitation of the blue, this potential of the blue economy, vis-a-vis the other countries with whom Bangladesh shares its water. In Bangladesh, existing land base used to be the paradigm, basically in development paradigm. But now the blue economy has sort of come into the agenda of its national planning. We are right now in preparation of a 7th five-year plan, so that is very much a very important consideration for that plan. And why it became important? Because as you know, the very first day, a speaker mentioned the Bangladesh shown also a very peaceful model, because if Indian Ocean is a piece of zone, you know, Bangladesh already demonstrated that Bangladesh's commitment to peace and in a good friendly relationship with its neighbors. Bangladesh resolved all its conflict in a peaceful manner